Hello everyone, I am Alper Markov and this is a episode of a new Magic the Gathering channel, Concepts and Legends. Today we have actually a very special treat and I'm going to be brief about it because we want to get to it. I did an interview over Zoom with the magic artist Vincent Proce, who is absolutely amazing. It was an incredible interview and I know you all will enjoy it, so I won't keep you any longer and let's get to it. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. I'm glad you made it. You like my background?
Yeah, I love it. That's one of
Yeah,
my favorites there.
that's actually my personal favorite. I mean, I don't know, I'm already going off about this, but like how, I guess this goes into the first or into the questions. When the creative process is given to you, because I want the story behind this one. Um, uh, how is it told to you, and then where do you get to interpret it as far as like the story is given to you, right?
Well, they give me a lot of leeway on interpretation. A
Mhm.
lot.
Okay,
Because I've been with them for so long.
right.
They know, they come to me for, weird stuff and stuff that's, you know, Mark Winters put it to me this way once. He said that, we can get anybody to paint a pretty elf or a handsome character or characters and stuff like that, but they use me because I come out of left field,
Yeah.
for a lot of, like, this idea for this was very left field. And I think that, it's like I don't have a lot of my concept, because when I do concept work for Magic, I don't have a lot of my concepts get accepted because of that off thing that I am.
Hmm.
But they but when I do, it nails it, it's
Right.
right on target, and that's what they come to me for.
So with this card creation, with how did it, I mean, did you
There was no concepts for this creation, for
really?
that particular one. Yeah.
So is what do they call, like the top to bottom kind of?
So they like write me a for that one in particular. They wrote me a thing that just said, well, we want you to come up with some kind of mix of a town, because they started with the garrison.
Yes.
Image, okay? Garrison image. I did a nice pencil drawing of the image, and I added all these characters in there, and they're like, okay, well, we want you to turn that into an Eldrazi monster, this city. So my thoughts are like, it's like, oh, okay, well, I could take all these, because you know how the Eldrazi, when they get on you, they turn you into a horrible monster.
Yeah, an
But now,
amalgamation.
yeah, 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 and then you mix that in with a whole village,
It's so
and then
dark.
I was able to take a lot of the different characters that were in that original Garrison piece
Yes.
and add them into as monsters inside the legs of that creature.
I noticed one of the saddest ones is in the drawing that you did of the garrison. There's that young blonde. It's a young blonde boy who looks really unhappy to having to serve, to
Yeah,
defend it, and you see him dead, and it's just so it's so heartbreaking. But the
yeah,
children, that's the part that kind of sucks, because the card, when you print it out, you don't see the kids, can't see
yeah.
them, and that's where it nails it, because it's just like they are.
It's like, what do we do now?
Yeah,
Our
I mean,
whole life is gone.
and there is a whole story of like what's going to happen to those kids. Who would they grow up to be? I mean, like they could be Magic characters that would be like, I don't know, like, I mean, you could see a sequel happening where the two of
Oh
them.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I could see these characters growing up and being, like adventurers with planeswalkers that are, you know.
And they want to wipe the Eldrazi out, because I can imagine.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Eldrazi are now pretty much gone, aren't they? That in this
Well,
last.
Emrakul is imprisoned in the moon, right?
Right, right.
But
Yeah.
she is apparently there because she wants to be, not so much that she's there. So she's not out. She's not out for good. And that's. I mean, I guess I mean, I don't know. And also the mythos behind it is that the Titans were just. It was just those three. But who's to say if there's more? I feel like they have to bring them back because they're really iconic. But you can never really tell. But I digest.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the design for that Emrakul was just so beautiful. Mark Dedine is just it's a monster Oh, for designing monsters. I mean, that Umbacrow was just gorgeous.
Yeah, it's like a Lovecraftian kind of thing.
Yeah, but over the top, like it's got all this crustacean stuff in there,
Yeah.
and it's just amazing. I had the opportunity to paint that character on 2 cards.
Yes,
And
yes.
I love painting that character. He's just so interesting and cool, and the different colors on his body and everything. It's just perfect fantasy monster.
It's truly great. And I guess so when did you start with art? Like, how young were you? I mean, and what was your inclination towards the dark stuff something that happened early on, or what was sort of that?
I grew up in a haunted house.
Like an actual haunted house?
Actual haunted house. My house was haunted with poltergeists and ghosts. And when we were real little, we would, during Christmas time, we'd go down the stairs and we'd see like Santa Claus or reindeer standing in the living room. But it was, my interpretation is that it was our brains were just creating that because we didn't know thing. And there's times we saw ghosts in the house where there was this mirror that we had in the front room that murdered several people. And we got a lot of this furniture out of an old church basement that was getting torn down here in the south side of Chicago. And we think a lot of the horror came from that,
You say we, is that your brothers and sisters, or
my family, my parents, we were like I grew up in Oak Park in Illinois here, right outside Chicago. And my dad was in the newspaper and everything because they interviewed him about the ghosty stuff that was happening in the house and everything.
So you guys are sort of as a family, this.
Oh yeah, we're all, there's actually a photo out there. I'm not going to dig it up now of a ghost actually in our basement, sitting behind my sister and her daughter back in, I think it was like 2001 or something like that. And there's this monster standing behind her with this monster face on. It's the most horrific thing. It's somewhere on Facebook, but it's the most horrific thing I've ever seen, man.
Oh my goodness. Did you like have a lot of nightmares? I mean, where do these images come from? Like, how do you
Well, all this, so I started drawing when I was very little. I was 4 when I started drawing. I had a broken collarbone, and I was all strapped up with my arm across my chest, and I would draw with my 2 fingers like this, laying on the ground.
How'd you break your collarbone?
That was a tough year. I got run over by a car and broke my collarbone twice that year.
Oh my God.
When I was it was 72 or 73. I was very little. I was hit by
trauma.
Like,
Oh my God. Jeez. So I didn't mean to cut you off. So you started drawing early with one arm, and then.
Yeah, and then my dad was an artist, so we connected on that level for many years. And that's how I got started,
That's fascinating, because like with my family, like I come from like a lot of scientists, so I'm sort of the odd one out, but that's cool. It's always nice to see families work together as a unit. So I guess I want to ask, I would have asked, what magic card that you're most proud of, but I feel like you already answered that one. But
no, I mean, I can't really tell you what I'm most proud of, because every plane has, it's a whole nother, it's, how when you're playing and you're setting down your cards and you set down that new land and you feel like you're in that land, and that all your cards are part of your family, your group, and you're really close to them and you feel very connected to them, and then if you lose one, you feel really shitty about it.
Right.
It's that same thing when you're working in the magic universe. You fall into it like you're there, and the creation, you are a planeswalker when you play, but as an artist, you're also a planeswalker because you're creating the plane. You're like a god of magic.
Yeah, you are. You're literally a plane creator.
So crazy cool, man. It's so crazy cool. I love the whole lore. I love the whole universe. I love all the artists are awesome and fucking cool. and anybody that isn't cool gets pushed out of the industry, out of the Magic community.
I'd
You know,
imagine,
was
yeah.
really cool too. And it's just, I don't know, it's the best, and the fans are the best, and it really is like it's what Magic the Gathering has done for artists today, what all the like patrons and stuff of the 1800s did for artists then, where they would pay these artists just to live so they could do their work. I mean, without Magic, most of us as artists would not survive.
Right.
You know,
right.
especially now with the pandemic and everything. I mean, without Magic, we'd we'd lose our houses.
I mean, yeah, because even the film industry, which you've gotten into, and you were into at an early age, it's all at a halt right now, right? Because they can't.
It's completely gone. It's like there's nothing happening.
It's so terrifying. But you know,
They'll be back. I mean, there's nothing to worry about. I mean, obviously they're going to figure out a way to make, because there's so much. Whenever there's a lot of money in something, they always figure out a way. I mean, look at right after the pandemic started and they did a lockdown, we still had commercials about the lockdown.
Right. Yeah.
You know, they were still filming commercials with actors and producers and sets and all that stuff. So it's not like they can't do it. It's just going to have to be a different system, and that system is going to take a little bit of time to develop. And once they do, then we'll all be back to work and it'll be fine.
Yeah. No, it's great. So like, what originally got you what was like your first card, and what was sort of your entrance into Magic when you started at what, 2006 was it, or 2000?
Yeah, I think that my first cards came out in 2009, but I started in 2006, 2005, around there, working on D&D.
Okay, so the universe that.
Yeah, I was hired by John Shinanetti to do some online D&D work, and you know, because whenever they have a new artist come in at Magic, they test them on smaller things first,
right,
and then throw them something big, and because they were coming after a lot of video game guys at the time, because we were doing this photo comping sort of stuff that we mixed drawing with photos and painting, and make these photorealistic images for the video.
Yeah.
And Magic the Gathering up until that point was doing mostly traditional stuff.
Yeah.
And really wanted to break into that space of digital art and making things, you know, bigger and more epic and more cinematic, you know.
Right.
So I started bringing in some video game. Anyway, so I did this first piece I did for D&D was this Dragonomicon image. That was this massive battle piece with dragons and soldiers and all this stuff. And Rich Witters saw that. He's like, oh, we should bring this guy in for our next concept push. So they brought me in for the first Zendikar concept push. Mm-hmm. That was my first experience with Magic, and I went on, and it was a great introduction too, because I had Matt Cavada, Mark Tadine, and Rich Witters, and Jeremy Jarvis was leading us on this first concept push for Zendikar. It was epic, dude, because it was before Magic had like the art kind of focus that they have today, and Jeremy was bringing this to Magic. Like before that, they had like an art thing, but it was very corporate and very office like when you go to the Magic studio, you know. But Jeremy, because he was an artist for Magic, and he became the creative director of Magic, he's just like, well, we've got to make this for artists, and we've got to define these worlds to be more specific to what they are, and let's mix some cool shit together and make this really cool kind of 3-week concept push that develops this whole world into this thing. And it was just so much fun, and it was just it was the first time I really got to be with really great, I mean, I worked with some great artists in video games, but this was the first time I was with like a bunch of illustrators that came from illustration and not from concept art. You know what I mean?
Right.
And guys are just in there. They got such minds for Magic. And because I hadn't even played before that, I was like collecting some of the cards because I like the art, but I never played before that. Yeah.
That's interesting.
He started playing, but he was very little and he didn't get it quite yet. But yeah, I mean, I played a little D&D when I was a kid, but I never played Magic because I was into video games and I was into, you know, a bunch of other stuff.
Which you did a lot in your early career. You were involved with a lot of video games, like as I saw, like Mortal Kombat, right?
Yep. Mortal Kombat, Stranglehold, and Psyops, and L.A. Rush, and a bunch of stuff. It was all out of Midway games, you know, because I was based in Chicago this whole time. I've never went anywhere else. So yeah, it's how it all got started. And then my first cards, they sent me after the push. They sent me the 5 Zendikar lands, the first Zendikar lands.
Yep.
And those were my first cards. And that year I did like maybe 25 cards for Zendikar. And
that's amazing.
My first experience. And then I came back. They had Mirrodin, I think, came out the next year. And I didn't work on that one. But then the year after that, I came back. I believe it was for Innistrad. I'm not sure. But I believe it was Innistrad the next push I did.
Yeah, because I mean, you are. I mean, it's fascinating how, I mean, right out of the gate with those land cards, they're iconic. Like, I mean, the full art lands. Like, I don't know how did that even been done before.
Well, I was lucky because they did that because they did the first time they did the full art lands, and I forgot the other artist that was on that. It was Jung Park or. Forget who else got to do full lands on that project, but we all got lucky because they were, you know,
they were showcases for your art. I mean, it was just like look at this, like, and so I can imagine like now I have to talk about Guillermo del Toro. How did that happen? Like, what was the story? Because I mean, that's nuts. You had already had massive success, and then boom, this like avalanche.
I had. You know, it was really weird because my wife had been trying to get me to do ComicCon for years. Okay, and you know, I was resistant because it's a chaos. It's a chaotic thing, and I'm not a salesman. You know, I'm not. My brain isn't wired like that. So it's doing that. You know, you have to be the face of something, the face of your work, and you have to be this. You know, I'm used to sitting behind a computer screen or a canvas and nobody's seeing me ever. And then go to this situation, it's just like everybody's coming in there to see you and your art and to talk to you about it. So you have to change your entire being to be that. You know, it's a very, you know, and I was very resistant to it. But we heard our friend, Alan Williams, who's done a couple Magic cards also, he had gotten discovered by Guillermo del Toro there at Comic-Con. Like 2 years before, and my wife's just like, "No, you gotta go. You just gotta go because he's gonna discover you there." I'm like, "There's no fucking way that Guillermo is gonna discover me at Comic-Con." And I didn't even think anything of it. So we go to Comic-Con, and I sit in my booth, and there was a slow lull in time for a minute, and I'm sitting there at my desk, and nobody else was in there with me, and I had one of those 10-foot by 10-foot spaces, and I'm just sitting there like drawing or something like that. And this big, heavy guy comes walking into my booth with sweatpants and a black T-shirt, and he's wearing a wrestling mask, like a lucha wrestling mask.
Oh wow! Okay.
The classic lucha thing.
Right.
And he's carrying all these bags, and he just seemed like a regular fanboy kind of guy.
Right.
And he comes in, and he's standing around, he's looking at the paintings and the drawings and everything like that. And he just walks up and he grabs one of my books and he says, and he turns it over and he says, "I'm Guillermo del Toro. I want you to work for me." And I'm like, "Okay, dude.
Right.
You're Guillermo del Toro. I believe you. That's true. All right, sure, yeah. You know, if you're Guillermo, I'll give you the books for free and stuff." Like, she's like, no. No, I support the arts. I support my artists. And he's like, write your number, phone number, and address on the back of that book, and I'll call you. I was like, all right. And he never took off his mask. So I wasn't even. So I mean,
he probably was wearing it because he would be recognized.
Oh, he's swamped. Yeah, he'd be
swamped.
Yeah. So he, so I did it, and I was like, okay, see you later. I didn't really believe it, but there's that little thing in me, and I wrote my wife, and she's just like, oh man, it's got to be him. It's got to be him. And sure enough, 2 weeks later, his producer called me up and said, Guillermo wants you to come up and work for him. You got to come up next week. You know, on Tuesday, it was like Friday. They said, you got to come in on Tuesday. We're sending you a plane ticket and a limo to pick you up.
Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah. And that was that. They brought me to Canada to work on Carnival Row. When he was going to make Carnival Row a movie originally.
Okay.
So we did a bunch of concept art for it. And then at that concept art push, he kept me and one other guy behind, and we worked on Shape of Water together then.
That's insane. Like,
and then he sent us home, and that was, you know, and then he's been bringing me back ever since. You know?
I mean, yeah, then you're all of a sudden you're now involved on an Oscar-winning film, and then
yeah, it's just mind-boggling, right? I mean, just,
right. And then you go on to that little independent project, It Too, that tiny little like
yeah, yeah.
That's I'm sure nobody's heard of that one, right?
Well, I mean, again, if it wasn't for Guillermo, I would have never met Andy.
And
Andy is like, he's super cool.
I mean, it seemed like he got you totally, because I mean, you guys there's a clicking, and I mean, like, I will say this, when we saw It Too, me and my friend went to see the theater, and that Mrs. Hirsch, like that got us, like, we screamed like teenage girls, like, it just scared us so bad. And I was like, dude, I get to talk to Vincent today and tell him about that. It's like, it's cool, but
She scared me.
Right?
Me. And I saw the dude in the costume, and he's standing right in front of me, and he is fucking terrifying looking, dude. Terrifying, that smiling face with the no teeth and everything, and the fucking twisted eye. Horrific.
Yeah, right. It's insane. But so, like, and then that book came out. Did you know that the book was going to be a thing?
I had no idea.
So how did that come to? Because as an artist, that must be.
It was amazing, and because they told me that they were going to put some stuff in a book, but I didn't realize that they were going to like have everything I did in a book. I had no idea. It was like such a surprise, and they even put me in the extras for the movie. I'm in the extras. They interview me.
That's right.
While I'm working on one of the pieces for.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot that. But I do remember going to Barnes and Noble and flipping through the book, and I'm like, why do I know that name? And I was like, I know who that is. And I said to my friend, I was like, that's the guy who does all the Zendikar and the Eldrazi. He's like, oh, we sat there and, like, you know, it's amazing. It's like basically an entire book that's of your art.
It was really, I'm blessed and flattered by it. I don't even know what to say about it, really.
Are there any plans for you to do other books that feature your artwork? I mean, is there?
Well, I did the Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. I did a bunch of work for that, and there was a book that came out, a companion book that went with that. That was like called Sarah Bellows' Diary, and all the art is mine also. And
so I guess my question, because I think a lot of people wonder with magic artists, with that kind of stuff, because I'm sure that there are contractual obligations where the images are no longer like property. I don't know how that works, but if a fan wants to purchase either an original or an art, like say just a print, how is that done? And
magic is the coolest, and as you know, there's a lot of artists out there that are selling prints of their work and stuff like now. And I could do that, and I'm constantly planning to do that, but I keep myself so busy, man, that I never get around to setting it all up. And I'm right on the edge of it. I'm always right on the edge of setting it up. So up until now, I've only sold prints at ComicCons and stuff like that. And since I haven't been doing ComicCons for a few years now, there's no place to get my prints anymore. And I know. I gotta get it up. It's happening this year. I was hoping to get a lot of it done during the pandemic, but I ended up starting this whole epic story that I'm working on my own, this animated sci-fi thing that I've been working on. And and I've kind of been focusing all on that, you know, just as my own thing. So I will get it done. It's going to be done this year, hopefully before October. But yeah, that's
like hire an intern or something, you know? Like,
yeah, I know. I got to do that. I mean, I know. I know
Because
it's.
I mean, the people, I mean, myself included. I mean, your art is just like it's begging to be displayed. It's just like it kills me because I'm like,
I'm so sorry. Tell the whole magic community, I apologize. I got APs coming out of my ears. I don't know what to do with all of the APs I have. I have APs of the ComicCon set of the Planeswalkers, the 6 Planeswalkers. That I have 50 or 150 packs of these things, of the 6 cards.
oh no,
That, yeah, I do.
oh, it's
Yeah,
killing.
I do. I've got the Hanwar, and I have all of everything. The Hogarth, just all of them. It's,
I mean, and
I
right now,
I know, I gotta do it.
I mean, do you know that right now you're currently your art, the art that you did for Euros is the most played Magic card in Magic right now. Like
Really?
the number one played card. Like it
Which
is
one?
Euros,
The Euros. Oh, the big guy, the cloud kind of monster guy that's coming down.
It's number one of most played like in Magic.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got all of those. I got all those APs, all those foils, just coming out of my ears, man. I gotta get them up somewhere.
It's just and I just realized.
I need mental help. Is what I need.
Yeah. I mean that's you. It's
You see it, Tristan.
I just yeah. So and then well now I'm giving you pressure now. So hopefully on the Magic.
I'm gonna do it. I promise I will. And now when you put this out there and everybody starts sending me hate mail because I don't do it, I'm sure that they'll in the
Send him love mail. Send him love mail. Lovingly ask him. Because if you don't ask politely, there's no. He doesn't have to do it.
Yeah.
Want you to do it.
Right. I gotta.
I just saw on the bottom on my bottom right. I see that looks like an Emmy. I think.
Oh yeah, I won an Emmy.
I know. I'm aware of that. Like that's the Emmy is just chilling there. Just. I mean.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
You know, it's really weird because I've never really won any trophies before. You know, my whole life I've never really. I think I won a baseball trophy when I was like 8, but I've never won a trophy before. And when we got this, it's like I don't even know what to do with it. It seems like such a special thing, you know. But I don't know. What do I do?
Right. Yeah, you can't. Well, actually, like I've heard from like a lot of people. Howard Stern's interviewing a lot of his people over Zoom, and they all pretty much do the exact same thing that you do. With with its, I think other people with Grammys, but akin to the top of the industry type awards. They're like, I don't really know where to put it. I can't really like.
It's such a special thing. I mean, you put it on a.
Yeah, if you like put it up where like ostentatious, then you look kind of like look at me and
feel kind of douchey about it and everything.
Exactly.
I'm not gonna put it downstairs in front of. I don't even know how it ended up there, but it's like it's just in the office amongst all my stuff.
I mean, I didn't notice it until now. I was just like, oh, because I'm like, while I'm talking to you, I'm also like scanning at all the art, and I'm like, what is that? I think I know what that is. It's like it's very much into your world. I appreciate the time that you give me. And then I guess the final question I have, I like to say is, what are you doing when you're not doing art? What is your like free time? I mean, what do you enjoy when you're?
I my whole life, everything that I do is part of the process of doing art. Everything.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm not drawing, I'm sculpting. If I'm not sculpting, I'm writing. If I'm not writing, I'm painting. If I'm not doing any of those things, I'm traveling or going for a walk. I don't really do anything else. I love animals and I like spending time in nature and with animals and stuff like that. And I love spending time with my wife and my son. But other than those things, I own a house, so I have to do house stuff when I'm not working, because when you own a house, it's a hobby. It's this big fucking hobby that you got to constantly do stuff
Yeah.
to. So other than that, I'm just in creative mode 24 hours a day, and I gotta be, man. I mean, that's, as an artist, if you're not doing that, you tend to turn into an asshole. Like, you're angry all the time if you're not being creative,
You get sort of like blocked up. It's almost like not being able to take a crap. You're just sort of
it's exactly like that. It's therapeutic. It brings peace to your soul, and everybody's got a different way of doing that. Some financer guys, it's money is that to them, and house builders, building a house is that to them.
Right.
Whatever your job is, that you're a fitness guy, right?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah. I mean, that's where you find your peace in your soul.
I mean, you sort of like have to discover that, but it is so interesting. It's a fascinating dichotomy for you, that you find peace in a lot of stuff that gives people, that gives people's nightmares. Like, it's great. I mean, I love it. Wes Craven put it perfectly. He said that horror is boot camp for the psyche. And
it is.
He got it, because that's what it is. Especially if you grow up in a place, like, especially in America, if you grow up in a safe area and you're not given any sort of dose of fear that's natural part of being human, you grow up in a completely, like, at least I did. I grew up in, sort of like American Beauty style kind of place, and horror movies with my first, like, dose of adrenaline, like, of fight or flight. I remember seeing the Texas Chainsaw Massacre at 12, and at the end of the movie, I had to go running. I just couldn't stop running, and I was like, looking back on it, I was like, that was just my little body trying to figure out where to put the fight or flight energy, because sweating and
you got to get it. Yeah, the sweating and the sometimes I'll even be sitting at my desk if I'm alone in the house and I'm working on something that where I'm digging into those deep places. I get panicked because I get scared that what I'm creating is actually manifesting somewhere in the house, and it's there in the house somewhere. And sometimes you hear footsteps, or and I don't know if it's my mind.
I mean, your mind is definitely a universe in and of itself. I mean, like,
it's a horror show in there, dude. I'm telling you, man. It's scary as fuck. I mean, it's.
I take your word for that one, sir, because if your art is any indicator of that, I mean, have you ever? I mean, I mean, it's like, how do you even handle that kind of stuff? Because
I have nightmares. I haven't had a lot recently, but when I was much younger, when I was working through a lot of, because I mean, I've always been more of a fan of sci-fi, but I've always been more of a natural fit in horror.
Right. I gotcha.
And I'm not sure if that's just because that's the way my psyche is geared or what it is, but that's just where it's at. And the nightmares I had when I was a kid, that's all the fuel, and then I would make, like I said before about the Christmas thing, you make other things replace the things that you're scared of so you can deal with them,
Right.
So instead of a memory of some horrible monster that you had a nightmare, you see a bird, or you see a dog, or you see something else that isn't that thing, but that thing is there inside your subconscious, and it's going to come out some way.
Right.
And luckily I have an outlet to pour it into and let that thing go, because that's literally what I'm doing when I paint, is I'm taking what's in there and I'm taking it out and I'm putting it inside that, like Dorian Gray style, where that could be there and that's going to have its own life. And I don't have to look at it for the rest of my life. I could turn it around and not see it ever again.
It's an exorcism almost.
Exactly, man. That's a really great way of putting it. Like remember that movie Mother? Did you see that movie? Yeah. Notice. So the whole movie is a metaphor for the artistic process. That Jennifer Lawrence is the art piece that this man is creating, and
That's interesting.
And he's brutalizing it and using it and taking advantage of it and making it do all the things that he doesn't want to do, so he can be creative and make that thing. And then once he was done, of course, she dies, and another woman comes in to take that place because that new woman is his new creative outlet.
That's interesting. It's an interesting take on it. That isn't how.
I mean, that's what I saw, because as an artist, that's what I feel, is that you really abuse that thing that you use as a vehicle to get you to the end result of whatever it is your process is. And then once you get there, whatever's behind you is decimated. You've hurt people, you've hurt the environment that you're in, you've done all this shit, but then you have this beautiful thing that now you could pass on to other people to explore and enjoy it, and get inspired by.
And that is what makes good art, right? Is if you have two people look at it and two people have a completely different take on it. It's almost like when you put something out there, it is no longer your own. It's completely separate from you now.
No, it's not. And you have to accept that too, that people are going to have their own reactions to it that may not necessarily be the reaction that you want them to have. But that's okay, because it's not mine anymore. It is mine, like copyright or all that kind of bullshit, but it's not mine as opposed to my love child. Now it's like an adult now, and it needs to live its own life, and other people need to get from it what they need, or put it away because they don't need it. Whatever it is.
People do form very intimate relationships with it. It becomes, it's kind of crazy. You don't even know the breadth of how many people are sort of like inspired by the images. So it's really great. And I guess the last one is there anything upcoming that you want to tell us about? Anything that you're going on besides? I know you mentioned that the comic it's the project you're working on now. Is that going to be, what medium is that going to be?
Animation.
Animation? Okay, wow. That's an endeavor.
Yeah, that's what I got the Emmy for.
Yeah. I know that you did. It's so cool that you started. I saw on the IMDb Animaniacs. I was like, nice. That show is awesome.
A long time ago, but it was really fun working with Wacko, Yakko, and Dot.
Come on, that's something to be proud of. That show was so subversive.
They had so many little digs and hints in there for adults only,
Yeah, you wouldn't be able. I don't know if you'd be able to get away with that kind of because sometimes my mom would. I remember my mom she'd be like, "This show is racy," and I'd be like, "What?" Because I'm like 11 and I didn't.
Right. They're gonna have to. They're bringing the show back.
I know.
The whole charm of the show was the fact that Yakko, Wacko, and Dot were so, good at telling things that little kids got as funny, but adults also got as funny on a different level.
Right.
They were very good at writing those kind of jokes. It was fantastic.
Vaudeville, vaudevillian.
Yeah. That whole 1920s sort of Steamboat Willie thing,
Yep. Yeah. Well, this has been great. I thank you so much for this. And I'll close with, yes, release some print soon, please, because I will be the first in line.
Yeah, we'll have stuff soon. Hopefully by this fall, we'll have stuff up there.
I will help you find an intern. There's got to be. I could find a college kid out there who's an artist. If I did art like that, and I heard that you were hiring an intern to help me put up a website, I'd be like, oh yes, please.
Yeah, I'll definitely take that into consideration. I have a signing agent, a card signing agent though, with Matt Schneider.
Okay. No. What is it?
Matt Schneider is my signing agent. So basically he gets a bunch of Magic fans to send him cards that are my cards, and they send me the cards in one big bulk pack twice a year. And then I sign cards for people that way, because I'm not doing it at ComicCon anymore. And the only way for people to get me to sign their cards is through Matt. So
right.
Yeah.
Well, I guess would maybe people, is there a possibility to have people send, I don't know, they probably would print the art because it's we can't print your copyrighted work and then send it to you.
Well, you could, For what? What do you mean? I don't.
Well, like, no, I was thinking out loud, and then I just realized it wouldn't work because if you try to take a piece, like if you try to take one of your pieces to get it professionally printed, they're going to be like, "Do you have clearance for this?" And they'll be like, "No."
Oh, well, actually, so Wizards of the Coast is really great for that. They have it in all of our artistic contracts that we can sell any art that we want without any sort of blowback. Yeah. And we could even put together a book that's 90% Magic the Gathering art, and they're cool with that too, which we're working on.
That's okay. Well, that's great. Well, I hear that I hear you being summoned, so I will let you go. But thank you so much again for talking to me today. I appreciate it. It's
No problem, brother.
All right.
All right.
See you later.
Bye. Bye.